I'd try this a new way. I'm gonna show you the tricks that I know. I'm getting tired of talking, and I need more of a show right now. It's time that you made your mind up, 'cause lately all it ever does is change. Feels like we're only talking, going round and around, back around. I will fight like no other every day. I won't stop like the others. I will stay. 'Cause now is the right time, and I'm feeling alright. I'm playing your game like I know I can win right now. You got me on tonight, 'cause loving you is like I'm walking a tightrope so high. I won't be turning around, no, I won't be turning around. It's the right time. You feeling alright? I'm playing your game like I will win tonight. I think I'll do it on my way. I'm gonna show you what I'm going through, get you out of your comfort zone, 'cause I need more of the truth right now. It's time that you made your mind up, 'cause lately all it ever does is change. Feels like we're only talking, going round and around, back around. I will fight like no other every day. I won't stop like the others. I will stay. 'Cause now is the right time, and I'm feeling alright. I'm playing your game like I know I can win right now. You got me on tonight, 'cause loving you is like I'm walking a tightrope so high. I won't be turning around, no, I won't be turning around. It's the right time. You feeling alright? I'm playing your game like I will win tonight. Don't forget it, don't forget it, don't forget it. We'll turn this around. Don't forget it, don't forget it, don't forget it. We'll turn this around.
Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word Live and some race reaction to the Spanish Grand Prix. Yes, that was an intro and a half. Sorry I'm a little bit late today. Just having an issue waiting for teams to release some images for me to use. So it was a little bit later than usual, but only by a few minutes. So hope you're all good today. Did you enjoy that race, chat? I'd imagine there's going to be quite a lot of you telling me that was massively boring. Initial reaction... It's all right. I mean, it's very difficult for me to get really down about Formula One. I absolutely love watching racing, so I'm always going to say it was better than maybe some others might say it. But yeah, it was okay. We've certainly seen worse in Barcelona. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. But we've also definitely seen better. I've got Aldas with me today, a little bit later in the stream. It's been a while, so we'll talk to him shortly. But we'll start, as we always do, by having a look at the race results. And I think really, if somebody said sum up the Spanish Grand Prix in one image, that's it. Lewis Hamilton victory by 25 seconds, nearly clear of Max Verstappen in second, with Valtteri Bottas in third. The rest of the field lapped. That is Barcelona. Don't we just love it? But what a drive from Hamilton as well, and fantastic for Verstappen to split the two Mercedes. Obviously, Bottas making an extra stop, hence why the gap is so huge to his teammate, but there's other factors as well. Talk about that shortly. Lance Stroll, fourth place with Sergio Perez in fifth, with Carlos Sainz in sixth. I don't recall seeing Sainz get sick. There we go. That's the topic for this one. Seventh, Sebastian Vettel drove really well today, considering his team seemed to not be on the same wavelength as him at all. Alexander Albon in eighth, Pierre Gasly ninth, and Lando Norris rounding out the top 10. 11th for Daniel Ricciardo, 12th for Daniel Kvyat, and 13th for Esteban Ocon. 14th for Kimi Raikkonen. Bit punchy with Grosjean almost. We'll talk about Rogro, I'm sure, a little bit later on. And the Raikkonen incident. 15th for Magnussen. Pace for Haas did not transfer, did it from practice into the race. 16th for Giovinazzi, 17th for Russell, 18th for Latifi, and 19th for Romain Grosjean. As for Charles Leclerc, DNF. We'll talk about him shortly as well. We'll talk about everything shortly. That's kind of the point, really, of a race reaction. But we'll kick things off. Hopefully this is all working okay. I've not had a chance to test it. Good afternoon, Aldas, mate. It's been a while. February, I think, the last time we talked on a stream.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been a while. I think I've been on this channel 2 times now, and this is my third. So, to be honest, it's actually been a while since me and you have talked anyway. But yeah, happy to be on this stream talking about this interesting race. I mean, it was definitely not an all-time classic, but yeah, looking forward to having a nice waffle as we always do anyway. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, we've not had one of our 2-hour catch-ups, have we? That turn into 6. That's just not good enough, mate. We need to be we need to be chatting a bit more than that. I'm just going to get all the images on screen ready for everybody so they can see some stats from the race and whatnot. Record-breaking day for Lewis Hamilton, by the way. Top now on most podiums in F1. So yeah, we'll start with Lewis. I mean, stunning drive, mate, wasn't it? Absolutely incredible. He just didn't put a foot wrong, even in control of his own strategy, talking about not wanting the soft tyres. He wants to go to mediums whilst his teammates out there on the softs. I'm running out of things to say about Lewis Hamilton this season. He's just unstoppable, isn't he?
It was the Lewis Hamilton show. It was the Lewis Hamilton performance. And, you know, as good as he is, as much as we know that he can overtake and he can give us the exciting racing, this is just kind of what he does in the hybrid era. He just dominates. He just controls the tires. He can control the team around him as well. He can make those strategy calls. And in the end, I mean, what was it, almost 25-second gap? Are we really surprised? I mean, Spain as well. If there's any track, you've been saying it, you know, I've been watching your videos every single time you say it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes in Spain, it's game over unless there's a bit of an incident with his teammate. But yes, I mean, fantastic performance. What can we really say? I'm not going to hate on Lewis Hamilton because I respect what he does in the team. But yeah, it was the Lewis Hamilton show at the front, let's be honest. Led every single lap, almost got the Grand Slam. I think this would have been the 6th of his career or the 5th. But yeah, Valtteri Bottas just stealing the fastest lap at the end. But again, great performance by Lewis Hamilton. What else can you say about this man?
Exactly. I think it would have been the 6th. I think he would have gone level with Jim Clark for Grand Slams. So I think Jonty said on Twitter, actually, it feels a little bit harsh of Mercedes to do that, but quite frankly, we'll talk about him in a minute, but Bottas needs every single point he can get, and he had to go for that fastest lap. But obviously pretty dominant. Do you think overall, the race was disappointing? Because for me, people will say, oh, it's a disappointing race, it's boring. You've just touched on it there on my videos. That is kind of exactly what I expected from Spain. I didn't think we were going to get there and see absolute chaos. I didn't think Red Bull were really going to take the fight to Mercedes, although Verstappen did a great job. I didn't expect to see... I mean, we got the field spread pretty quickly in the race, which I expected. I think that's it. It's not a disappointing race for me. It is exactly what I thought was going to happen pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you're going into Spain, especially if you've been watching the sport, since the start of the hybrid era, I'm not sure how you can be disappointed, coming out of Spain, because that is kind of what we expect. I feel like this was the epitome of like a 5 out of 10 race. We got a few little highlights there and there. Romain Grosjean gave it some as usual for the fans, but overall it was just, again, a 5 out of 10. There was nothing amazing. It's nothing that we're gonna remember for years to come, except for saying maybe this is where Lewis Hamilton got to 156 podiums. But I don't think it was awful. It wasn't like a complete DRS train from start to finish. And there was a little bit of strategy in there, some 2 stops up, some 1 stops. So yeah, it was to me a 5 out of 10. I wouldn't give it really any more, to be honest.
See, 5 out of 10 in the grand scheme of things, probably a little bit higher for Barcelona, maybe like 6 or 7 out of 10.
That's a 7 out of 10. Yeah, it's a 7 out of 10 Barcelona race, but like a 5 out of 10 F1 race.
I like that. We'll definitely go with that one. But yeah, pretty dominant from Lewis Hamilton. Would have been good to see him get the Grand Slam. I think he deserved it this weekend. He was just, I keep saying unstoppable. Like I said, running out of things to say. Championship for me, I said on Thursday, Bottas had to win this weekend if he wants to take that title fight to Hamilton. I think it's done unless Lewis Hamilton has a pretty disastrous next few races. I think he's going to need a few DNFs. I think before this weekend, I've not done the maths yet, but before this weekend, Bottas needed 5 wins, assuming Hamilton finished second, to get top of the championship if Hamilton didn't get any fastest laps. So there's just absolutely no way I see this title being turned around, really. But Max Verstappen's second place, 18 points. He's really... I think Martin Brundle says it a lot in commentary. Thank God for Max Verstappen. It does feel a little bit like that this season. And it was just another great drive to get between those 2 Mercedes. And maybe... if you want to talk title fight, perhaps he's the man to look at, Aldas, rather than Bottas.
I must say, I've been very impressed with Max. I mean, really, he actually extended his gap to Valtteri Bottas in the championship. I'm not going to say he's comfortably second, but he has extended his gap. And it's crazy to think that after, all of these races, it still is Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. And I think it was actually, the funny thing is, Lewis, after the race, he knows Max Verstappen is there. He always watches him. He knows he is right over his shoulders. He knows exactly what Max is capable of, especially when he gets the car, because he was like, oh, if Max didn't have a DNF in the first race, he would have been like 10 or 15 or 20 points behind me. So he knows that Max is absolutely on fire and just dragging everything and more actually out of that car. I thought, strange to say, I've been surprised by Max. He has just been phenomenal. He's been absolutely just getting the maximum, no pun intended, out of that car in every single race I've been. And once again, I mean, he jumped Bottas at the start. We're going to talk about Bottas a little bit later on because he was mediocre in my opinion. But Max, he did what he needed to do. Yes, there was a bit of frustration, but come on, it's a hot race. The guy is clearly a little bit frustrated because he knows he should be racing with Lewis. But overall, a fantastic performance by Max and almost maybe driver of the day worthy in my opinion. Certainly he's in that conversation. But yeah, Max in 2020, he is looking amazing, and it's just making me more jealous. I want to see Red Bull improve. When are they going to give this guy a car that is capable of at least challenging? I'm not saying winning, but at least challenging the championship. But certainly he's been, again, dragging everything and more out of that car in 2020 so far. I've been really impressed with Max.
It does beg the question, doesn't it, that what kind of title fight would we have if Hamilton and Verstappen were in the same car? Not literally in the same car, that would be crazy, but in the same team. So if Verstappen was where Bottas would we be having, I think we'd be in for quite an epic title fight this year. So yeah, Max has been a big surprise for me this season, but Red Bull the other way, I thought they'd be more competitive than they were, but he is, like you say, he's extracting everything out of that car and doing a very good job. And I think that once again today, he was very frustrated over team radio, wasn't he, that he couldn't really take the fight. I think at one point, I did write it down, but I can't read my own handwriting, said, how about we focus on our own job first, was what he said to his engineer, because he was talking about the gaps to Hamilton, the gaps to Bottas. They didn't have the pace today, Red Bull, for the win. They needed something to happen to Hamilton. It didn't. And yeah, we're not going to talk about whether or not he's the best, the second best, or the third best driver on the grid today, but it'd be fascinating to see just what kind of fight we'd get in the title with those two in the same team. I think you'd accept Mercedes disappearing into the distance if you've got Hamilton versus Verstappen. Wow. It makes your mouth water. It's weird.
Yeah. I was about to say, if you've got me in the stream, come on, Sean, let's talk about who's the best, second best, and third best. Let's rank them all. Let's just go all in and let chat completely just have it out. So, yeah, but I mean, again, Max Verstappen. Again, I kind of said, he was a little bit frustrated during the race, saying, we need to be focusing on us, not the Mercedes. I kind of get that. I kind of don't, because they are still the people you are racing. You need to have at least one eye on what the Mercedes is doing. And Red Bull are so good on the strategy. By the way, big shout out to their pit crew. I think it was a
Yeah.
1.9 second first stop, a 2 second, second stop. It's just the car. Yes, it's not, a championship contender car, but the organization, the team, the driver, everything is first class. Everything is ready to challenge for titles. And Max is ready as well. He's reached that level of maturity. We saw it in 2019 where he was just able to lead the team. He's gone up another level this year. I mean, beating Valtteri, by the way, with one DNF. And of course, Valtteri was also unlucky in Silverstone during the British Grand Prix with the tire failure. So he's kind of legitimately in second place in the championship. That's crazy when you look at how quick that Merc is. But at the same time, I think on a Sunday, that Red Bull is not as bad as people are saying. But of course, it's still not on the same level as them.
I don't think anything is it? They're in a class of their own, certainly with it at the hands of Lewis Hamilton. But yeah, talking about the Red Bull organisation, if anybody's new to Formula One and wonders why Red Bull don't have a Mercedes engine, that's why. Because Mercedes are fully aware that if they gave them the power unit, they have got a problem. Because they're fighting them now with a Honda power unit. Imagine what would... Mercedes, if you're listening, they won't be. Please give Red Bull a Mercedes power unit. It's never going to happen, but absolutely go for it. But yeah, the pit crew, 1.9 seconds, absolutely unbelievable. And Mike Cross just saying in chat there that Max has matured nicely. Completely agree. I don't like going on about 2018, but if you compare Max now to the start of 2018, he's a completely different guy. It's quite incredible. So very, very good stuff from Max this season. Keeping this season exciting. I think Aldas, you said it a minute ago, not to knock at Mercedes or to talk Hamilton down at all. He's doing an incredible job in that Mercedes, but it's nice to see somebody else up there taking a fight to them. But Bottas today, you said mediocre, mate. Is that a bit generous or maybe even a bit harsh? I'll let chat decide on that one. But I think that's his championship done. He wasn't brilliant today, and I know Barcelona isn't a track you can really overtake on, but he got stuck behind Stroll way too long. His start, a start is a start. The slipstream was always going to be the issue down to turn one for Bottas. Stroll got a stunning start. We'll talk about him in a bit as well. That move up the inside was really brave, and people say he can't race, so shut up, he can. But the start absolutely screwed him, but he needs to be getting past cars quicker, whether you can overtake on the track or not. There was I think it was down into turn one. I think the second lap behind Stroll, possibly, sort of the lap before he made the move. I feel like the move was on down the outside. He didn't go for it. I understand why. He's got to think about the rest of the race. You don't want to lose it all there. But I can't help but feel that Verstappen or Hamilton is down the outside at that corner. That's what Bottas needs to work on. I said it on Thursday. He needs to be more ruthless. That's what he needs to be. And he doesn't seem to have it in him. I don't want to knock Bottas because he's a lovely guy, but he just doesn't seem to have that ruthlessness, that edge he needs to be a world champion. And like I say, third time in his stream already, I think that's it for him this year for the title.
Yeah, I mean, and again, just repeating, it was a poor race from Bottas. Mediocre is definitely generous because it was a poor race. It was as simple as that. Poor start, first of all. You could see there was a very interesting commentary by Nico Rosberg post-race where he was kind of looking at the Valtteri Bottas onboard. And fair enough, Max Verstappen, he got that great start. He was but he just left the right track completely open, just let Stroll go through. And that was straight away not good enough. Second of all, he was stuck behind Lance Stroll for way too long. And then the third thing is they put him on soft tires. He barely made an impact. And to be honest, this is the thing, and I really want to get chat involved as well. Whenever you put Bottas on a quicker tire and say, right, do this, catch up to this guy, you need to overtake him, here's the challenge, go out and do it. I just never have the confidence. When they put him on the soft tire, Max was on the medium, I just never thought, yes, it's a 9-second gap. Valtteri's going to go for it. He's going to close it. He's going to absolutely mug, Verstappen off and going to get second place. I never had that confidence at any point. And in the end, he went from 9 seconds down to about 6 seconds down. That's all he can make up on that tire. And it was a very poor performance. And if this is Valtteri 2.0, 3.0, whatever, I think he needs to be like Valtteri 10.0 to be able to even, beat Lewis Hamilton, because again, it's that inconsistency. He has those moments obviously he's got a really great car. He has those moments where he looks unbeatable. But even when you look at his first race of the season, in Austria, even then Hamilton was catching him. Even then he didn't have that ultimate pace to win the race, and he kind of got away with it. So yeah, it's poor from Valtteri Bottas. It works as an organization and as a relationship between Bottas and Hamilton, the number one driver, the one that's winning. And Valtteri is a quality driver. He's no scrub. There's no doubt about it, but he's not a title challenger or a title, contender in my eyes. So yeah, poor race in my opinion. It was a must win. It was a track where he needed to prove that he could go to Hamilton's backyard in the sense that, it's a very strong track for him and he could take him down. So, and he couldn't do that. So, yeah, poor race from Valtteri Bottas from start to finish. But, well, at least he got fastest lap, I suppose.
Oh, say what you really
That's
think.
my hot
mate.
take right there.
No, the only thing I would do to defend Bottas for this one is he couldn't switch the soft tyre on. It was obviously not the race tyre because Hamilton was like, don't you dare put that on my car or there's going to be trouble. So I'll defend him on that point that he could maybe the soft tyre difference was he just couldn't switch them on. And that's, even Toto Wolff said afterwards, they just didn't work. But this is the difference. Lewis Hamilton will say over the radio, I don't want that tyre, I want the medium. Max Verstappen will say at Silverstone, no, I'm not slowing down. This is our chance, let's go for it. Valtteri Bottas, yep, copy. No, you need to be saying, and this is easy for me to say, sat here as an armchair fan and with the benefit of hindsight, of course it is, but he needs to be on the radio like Hamilton does, like Verstappen does, saying, no guys, I don't think that's the right tyre, let's get the mediums on, and then we'll go from there. That's the difference. I think actually, I'm just going to double check. No, that was Albon. Never mind. Forget that. That's the only defence I've got for him today. But the Austria thing, I actually think, just what you're saying there, go back to what you're saying now, I actually think that was his best, one of his best drives in a Mercedes. So the fact that Hamilton was still catching him then, there you go. But I don't think anybody, let me know in chat if you completely disagree, but I don't think anybody debates that that's the right lineup for Mercedes. That is absolutely the right way to go. Hamilton and Bottas just work. So I'm not saying Bottas shouldn't be in that car because from a team perspective, it's perfect, but if Hamilton were to leave tomorrow, they're going to have to bring somebody in to lead that team because Bottas, I don't know. I just don't think he's got it in him. But I also feel for him because we're comparing him to Lewis Hamilton. It's a bit like comparing Gasly to Verstappen and Albon to Verstappen. It's really a rubbish comparison to make. But your teammate is your first marker, and he was a long way off today. Even without that third pit stop, he's still 25, 30 seconds down the road, something around there. I've got the live timing up. So he finished 44 seconds behind. So knock off a 22-second pit stop. He's still 22 seconds behind his teammate. That's a big gap. But yeah, I just the only defence I've got of today really is the tyre thing, to be honest, Adas. But I think you're right with turn one. He needs to be over on the right hand side. Verstappen is, Hamilton is. And I really want him to turn it on. I keep saying it. I want him to take this fight to Hamilton. I'm not knocking him.
We all do.
He's got to step it up, but I think title over in that regard. But Lance Stroll, I mean, taking nothing away from Lance into turn one, I've got to say that. I mean, that was a real brave move when you consider that is last year's Mercedes. You don't want to be wiping out a current Mercedes, does he? Or he is in trouble, but I think that was a really good move to make. And it kind of made his race as well, I feel. So good driving from Stroll today, just overall. I've been impressed with him this season. A lot of people haven't, but I have actually been very impressed with him this season. And yeah, right, Checo got a penalty, but I think Stroll was quicker anyway. And it's certainly that final stint with the extra pit stop, and he managed to finish ahead of him. So yeah, Lance Stroll some credit. Definitely.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Stroll was, I mean, he's known for his lightning starts. He's had that ever since his Williams days. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, he had a great race just from start to finish, kept it clean. Wasn't as good on the tyres as Perez, but we know Perez is great on his tyres. He needed to do that one extra stop. Maybe he can, because there was a bit of a strange moment where Stroll, maybe 2/3 into the race, was just getting caught up by Sergio a little bit, 1.3 seconds, and it was a little bit kind of on the fence there. But yeah, he made that extra stop, cut through the field, did everything he needed to. Just a really great and solid race. And there's no doubt that he is a really good driver. So yeah, he's just getting along with it, doing it quite quietly, not making too many headlines, but that's exactly what he needs to do because, I mean, I've maintained that, obviously we expect there might be a full-time world champion, a German at that team next year, but in terms of who should get that second seat, I've always said it's the driver who finishes ahead in the championship this year, and, it should just be a straight at the same time. Of course, they are racing for a team that is maybe underperforming just a little bit because I feel like they have a really great car, but nevertheless, I thought Stroll was, just almost like Hungary, just a performance. Didn't see too much of him, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. He just got what he needed to do and got the team load of points because I feel like he had a little bit of a poor race in the 70th anniversary, obviously kind of getting beaten by Nico Hülkenberg, even though he did overtake him towards the end. He definitely bounced back the way he needed to. This race was all about the tires and he just maximized everything he needed to. So yeah, great race by Lance Stroll for sure.
Yeah, I can't fault him today, and I can't really. Yeah, all right. Last time out was a bit disappointing, but I think he's answering a lot of critics this year, and I've always said, you can go back and watch other videos, he's better than you think he is. That's what I've always said to people in chat. You might not think he's amazing, but he's certainly better than you think he is. So, and he's proving that. Just on Racing Point, I'm gonna be getting a Go XLR in a few weeks, hopefully. So I'm just going to record a soundbite for this. Renault have protested Racing Point once again, and Racing Point are set to or have been given a reprimand for using the same brake ducts. Blah blah blah. Protest. Blah blah. Appeal. Etc. That's getting a bit boring now. I've got to be honest. Even as a content creator and relying on it for something to give us to talk about, but I just no. It's all getting a bit. Just decide one way or another now. It's getting ridiculous, and I think it's just a lot of salt from Renault, especially given that Racing Point have officially, according to the regulations, actually done nothing wrong. Is what the actual thing from the FIA says. The decision. So really weird. But they are under reprimand again because there you go. But I think Perez. Did very. I know only 2 weekends off, but I think it's going to take him a little bit of time to just hop in that car and get back up to speed. I think he did a good job today. Penalty for not moving out of the way for blue flags. I think ignoring blue flags is the official line. Went past 3 posts and then let Hamilton through on the straight. The only replay I've seen of that was him letting Hamilton through, and I thought that was legitimately fine, but obviously he's held Hamilton somewhere else.
Just to really jump in, I actually think that replay was from the second time, I think, because Lewis Hamilton pitted, and I think that replay was actually when he was the second time Lewis lapped Sergio Perez, because I think he overtook Perez, and that's when Perez got the blue flag. Then Hamilton pitted and overtook him again, and that was the replay of the second one. I don't think we've actually seen the first one, or at least that's what I think, because the timings were a little bit strange. So, but yeah, as far as Checo, yeah, it was it was a little bit poor. Obviously he's been around the track for quite a few times, so he should have known, because I'm guessing it was in kind of the final sector, and he didn't really want to give up too much position and tried to save it for the straights. But to be honest, the one thing I will disagree on is I think he's actually just I don't one of those drivers that doesn't need a week or two to get ready. He just jumped in that Racing Point and was quick straight away. I think out qualifying Lance Stroll, and to be fair, on pace might have been a little bit quicker than Lance, but certainly that blue flags penalty was a little bit sloppy from him. But again, to be honest, a good return really when you think about it, and just a great haul of points for the team. I think as a team, Racing Point are finally getting into that zone, because I think there was a lot of missed opportunities in the first couple of races. But yeah, overall, I think just as a team, Stroll did a great job. I think Perez did a really good job on his comeback, and it was just it was really interesting. Although it was quite funny. I don't know if you saw actually they replayed it on Sky. Otmar Zafner, when his basically reaction when they started battling at the first corner, it was just absolutely hilarious, because he was like, hang on a minute, that's not part of the script. So yeah, that was kind of funny. But overall, just again, a great race by the team.
I think Stroll said in an interview as well, didn't he, that he wasn't expecting Perez to make the move because they were supposed to be managing things, and then was quite surprised to see him up the inside of him. But yeah, hey, they're there to race, and it's, I don't know. I just feel like Perez might have needed a bit of time, but then at the same time, he's going to a track they all know insanely well, and he did have 4 hours of practice, so I might be wrong on that one. But yeah, I think starting to see Racing Point, what we expected from Racing Point, always going to be the case this weekend, because it is a Mercedes track, and that, well, it's a Mercedes, isn't it? Let's not mess about with this. So I think it's good to see that. But I want to see now Belgium and Italy. I really want to see Racing Point start to get to grips with this season and putting the pace they've got into the race. Because we see it in practice, we see it in qualifying, sometimes not so much for Stroll, but then it gets to the race and they seem to fall away. But they're back up to third in the Constructors. You can see it there. So that 15-point deduction really hurt them, didn't it? In the end, not really. But yeah, very excited for Belgium, see what they can do, see if it is just track specific, but pretty good start to the year for them. McLaren, Carlos Sainz. I said when I was going through the order, I don't remember seeing Carlos Sainz make it up to 6th place, but I remember seeing a lot of Carlos Sainz, a lot of the midfield, to be fair, with TV direction, which was good to see, because I think when you've got Hamilton disappearing up front, it's nice to the director sort of goes, well, there's no point watching that. Let's keep an eye on what's going on behind. And there was plenty of close battling, obviously very difficult track to overtake on. But the McLaren boys, one way or another, seem to be right in the thick of things. And we saw some really good overtaking on a track that is difficult to overtake on. So Carlos Sainz, really good drive to end up in 6th place. However, he ended up in 6th place. Time machine, maybe? I don't know. But I must have missed something. But yeah,
that sounds a bit familiar, to be honest, Sean.
I always miss sight. Whoever finishes 6th or 7th, there's always one of them that I just forget, and it's generally poor Carlos Sainz or Kimi Raikkonen. But we did see a lot.
Yes, exactly.
Did we see a lot
From
of
the
Carlos?
first part of like 2019, where Kimi just out of nowhere got to 6th or 7th, and you're like, wait, what? How did he get there?
Yeah, when did Kimi end up 7th? And everyone, I overtook 16 cars 8 times, and you're like, oh, sorry, I must have missed all that. Too busy taking notes. That's the trouble, that I'm not even reading. But yeah. Go for it, Al. That's what the Carlos sites do. That's all on you, mate. You're covering that one.
I don't know, man. I thought I thought the TV director did a decent job, to be honest, to show the midfield. We saw some great battling. The McLarens were right in there. Carlos Sainz went on a really, I want to say, aggressive strategy. I think he went soft, and then medium or something like that, or soft, medium, soft, something like that. So yeah, he definitely had the foot to the floor and did a really great job. Again, it's kind of what we're expecting from Carlos Sainz. And to be honest, when you actually look at his season, I think he scored in every single race leading up to the British Grand Prix, and then he had those kind of 2 races where he had a tire failure, he had a bit of an issue in the pits. Had it not been for those 2 issues, he would have scored points in every single race. I don't think, let's not forget this guy, he's going to Ferrari for a reason. Maybe it's the wrong move. That's maybe a discussion for another video or later on in the stream. But nevertheless, he's still a quality driver, just getting into the season a little bit slower. But I think he's just picked up where he left off. A great race for him at home as well, in front of absolutely no Spanish fans, sadly. But, there you go. But yeah, I think Carlos did a great job in the midfield, obviously. But also Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc, actually, great battle with them. So this is kind of why I want to say I don't think this race was completely the most boring race we've ever seen. I think there was some nice little highlights. A shame for Charles Leclerc, but there was some great racing between Lando and Leclerc as well. That was quite good to watch. But overall, again, just a decent kind of race for McLaren. I feel like they've have lost a step since the start of the season, although I think that's more in terms of their car, because I feel like they were maybe overachieving at the start of the season, because I feel like they're more kind of the fourth or fifth best car in the field, really. But nevertheless, Carlos Sainz did what he did, and he did some overtaking, which is great. And again, I think the midfield was kind of the highlight of that race, really.
Yeah, you've sometimes, like, not to sound like a condescending old man to anybody maybe a bit newer to Formula One, sometimes you've got to pick your battles in F1, if you like. You've got to go and look for action, and we certainly saw some great stuff in that midfield. And I'm really happy for Carlos Sainz. I'm glad you brought up the slow start to the season. He's had a lot of bad luck. There have been some odd calls as well. He's had some car issues, so glad to see him pick up some points today for P6. And the Lando Norris Charles Leclerc thing, I think that was possibly the only moment in the race aside from the start where I actually got right on the edge of my seat, literally. In fact, I think I stood up because I was waiting for that to end in contact. It was so good, and Charles Leclerc going very deep into the hairpin kind of blew that opportunity, but very close to contact, but brilliant, absolutely brilliant to watch. And it's seeing Verstappen, Leclerc out driving that car, or at least extracting every single bit of pace out of it at the very least. And then you've got Norris in there as well, and all these young, it's great to see them, because it gets me really excited for the future, because we're kind of, F1 feels a little bit in limbo at the moment, with obviously the regulation change being pushed back to 2022 and everything kind of staying as it is for next year. Everyone's kind of hedging their bets on that. It's great that we're at least getting these little tasters. We got them last year as well, Verstappen versus Leclerc, just ready for the future, because when this field closes up, or if this field closes up, I suppose, is me being a bit sceptical on it all, but if it does, we've got some very good years ahead of us in Formula One. So, yeah, I know some people maybe don't want to sit tight for a year and a half, but sit tight, because it could be brilliant in the future. It might be brilliant for the rest of this year. Hamilton might get the title wrapped up nice and early, and then it's gloves off, do what you want for everybody. So we'll see. But yeah, really excited by some of the battling in the midfield with the younger drivers. Seb Vettel, though. Oh, Seb. Somebody said to me the other day, it's nonsense. Ferrari are not doing anything to Sebastian Vettel. He's just not on form. If you listen to his team radio today, nobody can make that argument. It is quite clear that at the very least, if I'm being generous, it's a little bit tense. And I think Sky Commentary again said it. It's a bit of a messy divorce. They were not interested, it felt, in Sebastian Vettel at all over the team radio we heard. And although maybe they're not, maybe he has got exactly the same car as Leclerc and he's just not getting the best out of it. Maybe it's set up for Leclerc like the Red Bull is for Verstappen, and that's why he's struggling with it. Whatever. There's definitely tension there, and we heard that today, and he did a fantastic job to get that car to 7th place today, quite frankly, on his own on strategy. I think on the radio he asked them for, what do I need to be doing now? Where do I need to be pushing? They didn't respond from what we understand. And then they said, what do you think about the tyres? Can we get to the end on the softs? And he said, I just asked you that. So, yeah, it's a bit bitchy is what I'm trying to say. But I do feel sorry for Seb, because that is not a nice position to be in. And if you already feel the world is against you, that's a dangerous place to be in.
Yeah, for sure. I think this whole 2020 season with Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari, it started off on a bit of a sour note, let's be honest. And I do definitely think that
Well, they
there's,
did him
there's
dirty,
problems on
didn't
both
they?
sides. I mean, say that again?
They did him dirty. They spent all winter saying that they were going to give him a contract and then told him that they weren't even going to offer him one. Off you go. See you later, mate. So, oh, thanks, guys. Love you too.
I think Matteo Binotto said it in pre-season testing, actually, sitting right next to Sebastian Vettel
Yeah,
during some of the interviews.
yeah, definitely. I'm sure. I've done a video saying that they, that he was their first choice and they were going to offer him a
Yeah,
deal and they
something
never
like
did.
yeah. But again, as far as like 2020, first of all, on the Ferrari side, again, I'm not on the camp that it's just the Ferrari. I do
No.
think that there is a little bit from, but let's be honest, like for sure from the Ferrari side, it's getting messy. I mean, but yeah, a multiple times world champion going through a messy divorce with Ferrari. Where have we heard that before? Definitely not Niki
Hmm.
Lauda, definitely not Alain Prost, definitely not Fernando Alonso, now not Sebastian Vettel as well. So yeah, this is a long track record. No, make no mistake. But yeah, as far as from the Ferrari side, there's just no confidence now between Vettel and the team. And when you see Hamilton thanking the team all the time, it's a massive meme. Thank you to the guys back at the factory. He doesn't just say it for fun. He says it because he means it. He says it because there's just such an amazing environment. There's such an amazing relationship between him and the team. And again, the team trust they trust his decision to go on the medium tires, and they just have this amazing confidence with each other. And it's almost the polar opposite now for Sebastian Vettel at Ferrari. I mean, again, Matteo Binotto has been a little bit snaky with some of the comments that he's made over the past, especially towards Sebastian Vettel now. So there's not exactly a great thing going on there. And then there's the infamous Ferrari strategy team, which is, well, the less we talk about them, the better. But yeah, it's just all coming together really badly. However, on the opposite side, Sebastian Vettel, I expected him. I understood that he struggled in 2019 and it was just a little bit kind of frustrating. But even though he is not driving a car that he is comfortable with, I expected a four-time world champion, a man that has been in Formula One for 13, 14 seasons to at least get just a little bit better, use of the car. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's not what he likes. It's not high downforce, but he does have a lot of experience. So yeah, it was a little bit from his end, but however, it was a quality performance today under quite a lot of pressure, let's be honest, in the media and from fans. And yeah, I think it was just a weekend that Sebastian Vettel needed. But yeah, it's just where we are at the moment, like picking is on, at the top of the midfield and maybe getting the when things do go a little bit astray. But that's just how it is for Ferrari in 2020. But yeah, what else can you say? I think a quality performance by Seb, a little bit more solo than with the help of Ferrari, really kind of leading forward the strategy, especially there's such bad communication there. So yeah, I think a good result with some difficult circumstances within the team.
He won official driver of the day today, and I think that comes down to maybe some people feeling a bit for him because he's having a rough old ride, but also 36 laps on a set of used soft tyres in Spain. That's quite impressive. I think that's what he can do when he wants to. And if he had the car underneath him, I have no doubt whatsoever that he'd be delivering. I agree with you. I don't think it's all Ferrari, but they're certainly not getting out of this one scot-free. No way. Maybe it's 6-1 half to the other, we don't know. But I think the sooner his future is sorted out, I think it already is, but the sooner it's officially sorted out and it's all been announced, then maybe he'll calm down a little bit. Do you think he'll see out the season? We'll talk about it properly later, Aldas, I'm sure. But do you think he'll see out the rest of the year?
I'd be very disappointed if he didn't, because Sebastian Vettel is a professional. He's always been like that throughout his entire career. He's a man with a lot of dignity. Even when you look at Fernando Alonso, I really compare 2020 to 2014. Now, in my opinion, the Ferrari of 2014 was actually an even worse car than this year. That might be a controversial opinion. And as much as Fernando Alonso was so frustrated with Ferrari for year after year, not giving him a good enough car, he still saw out the season. He still absolutely dominated Kimi Raikkonen. He still did everything that he needed to in that Ferrari, because that's the kind of driver that Fernando Alonso is. And I feel like Sebastian Vettel, although controversial opinion, I don't really rate him as highly as Fernando Alonso because he can't really adapt to difficult cars as well as Fernando. But again, he's a multiple-time world champion. He's a consummate professional. He's going to see out the rest of the season, I think, in my opinion, because yeah, I mean, where else is he really going to run off to? And again, he's just that kind of guy where he's just going to go through it. Yes, be a little bit frustrated, but do everything that he needs to be honest. So yeah, I don't really see him leaving midway through the season, because if he does, that's a little bit disappointing in my opinion from a full-time world champion that can't just use his experience to gather the team around him, as bad as they are, to go through the entire season. So yeah, I don't think Seb will do that. I think he's going to go throughout the entire season, in my opinion. I think he'll finish it.
I agree. I've always said he's professional. He's not going to walk away, is he? But interesting line from Mattia Binotto, apparently. This is from at the Racing Chick on Twitter. Apparently, Mattia Binotto talking about Sebastian Vettel's absolutely fair criticism of a poor performance by the pit wall, saying the consequence of his disappointment in leaving the team next year. Yeah.
Wow.
I've not heard him say that myself, but that is what Twitter are going off on at the moment. Apparently, Mattia Binotto essentially saying that his frustration with the pit wall is because he's disappointed he's leaving the team at the end of the year. Probably more disappointed with the way he's been treated than leaving. I think if they'd have said, here's an offer, made him a crap one, and he said no, at least he's had an offer and he's been treated with some kind of respect. But yeah, get lost with that one, Binotto. Not impressed with that at all. Thank you to Max and Jack, by the way, for sending that one over. But it's a race reaction. It's not a Seb. We'll get together for a Seb stream at some point, Aldas, and we'll just go mad. Why not?
Yes.
Could be good fun.
Don't worry, mate. Me and Sebastian Vettel have, there's plenty of controversial things I can say about Seb, that's for sure. Although we'll leave them for the other stream,
Yeah, let me have a nice, easy Sunday. Alexander Albon, 8th place today. What was he asked? He was asked after the race, was that a good recovery? That seems like a question that Sky are always asking him because he always seems to be having to recover. Not epic today, but he was involved in some good fighting, but really weird strategy from Red Bull on the face of it. So he pitted to put the hards on, which is a tyre that nobody wanted to be using on around lap 18. He pitted for the hard tyre. Could not get up to speed on them really, struggled to get through traffic, obviously difficult to overtake, and just couldn't get through the traffic. And then they ended up pitting him again to put the medium tyres on. But I was trying to work out why they did it, but I went back through the Pirelli stuff before we went live. He only had, I think it was one new set of the mediums and one new set of the hards. So they couldn't, maybe they were looking Red Bull at, they couldn't actually put two fresh sets of mediums on, so they'd have to put the hards on and then go to mediums, and maybe they used that as his middle stint to give him a fighting chance at the end. But a really weird strategy which hasn't helped him again. But at the same time, that car is quicker than most of those in the midfield. Even on the harder tyre, you would think he'd be able to do a better job than end up P8. And also, he once again today left Max Verstappen vulnerable in second place. Fortunately for Red Bull, Bottas wasn't able to get an undercut done, but they need Albon there. If Verstappen is second, third, they need Albon to be third, fourth. He's got to be there to give them those options in strategy, because that's the only way they're going to beat Mercedes in a straight fight, is if both drivers are involved and they can play clever on the strategy. And I kind of look at his hard tyre situation and understand why he struggled and why he couldn't maybe get the moves done around a difficult track. But at the end of the day, if he'd have been up there with Verstappen, they probably wouldn't have put the hards on. They gave him an opportunity. He gave the team the opportunity to try the hards out and say, hey, are these going to work for Max? Because he was so far off. I genuinely believe that. If he was up there in fourth place behind Bottas, they might have gone straight to mediums to try the undercut, but he was given, they might have wanted to test out, are the hards going to be any good for Verstappen? Can he do a one-stopper? Are we going to go to mediums? And because Albon was out of position, they've got to, one, try something different to get him through the traffic, and two, you might as well do a, dare I say, Barrichello on him and say, well, let's see if these tyres work for him, and if they do, we'll try them on Max. I think that's part of it, but it could also be that he didn't have two sets of new mediums. But I don't think, these, when we talk about new tyres and used tyres, we're not often talking about a race stint on a medium tyre. We're sometimes talking about a qualifying run. So he might have been okay. Disappointed again. I know there's a lot of love for Albon out there, and they want him to do really well. And, I think he is showing more, what's the word I'm looking for? More signs of being able to turn it around than Gasly was, because he's willing to get the overtakes done. But I'm starting to continue. Well, I'm continuing to worry about him, but starting to worry about him a bit more, to be honest, Aldas. And I think today he's not covered himself in glory again, although the strategy wasn't brilliant, it has to be said.
It's a very interesting situation on both sides, because yes, there is a lot of love for Alexander Albon on Twitter, but that, in terms of results, that's as far as it goes, on Twitter, because on track, it's not been good enough. It's been better than Gasly. He is a different kind of driver. He definitely has shown fight. He's shown desire. Certainly, I think it was at the 70th anniversary Grand Prix. There were some really great overtakes, but it's just raw pace. He just doesn't seem to be clicking with the car. And I think it's a very different situation, by the way, with Sebastian Vettel at Ferrari, because fundamentally that Red Bull is, I think, quite comfortably the second best car in the field in terms of, on average, both in qualifying pace and then really especially over the race. I think it's still fundamentally the second best car in the field. And the fact that he is still struggling in the midfield, it is a little bit disappointing. I think we are definitely going to have maybe a conversation about what is going to happen in the future with that team, who needs to be in that car if they're serious about winning championships. Because, I know the team is built around Max Verstappen, and I know that's not favorable to young drivers, but again, that team is an A1 organization. They provide as much help as they can to Alexander Albon, but he is still the one that needs to go out and get those results. And it was an okay race from him. It wasn't amazing, but at the end of the day, I think it just, yeah, they're going to need to obviously give him time, and I'm happy that they are doing that. They're not putting too much media pressure, and also I think that's kind of because they don't actually have too many options, both in their junior team and both in the junior kind of categories as well. So that's kind of got, he's got a little bit of time on his side, but he needs to be able to back up Max Verstappen because, as you said, kind of the Michael Schumacher Barrichello, maybe Michael Schumacher wouldn't have actually won some of those championships if Barrichello was also wasting a good car in the midfield. So you still need to be a driver to at least get the maximum out of that car that you can, but it's just not clicking at the moment. Hopefully, I think, over the course of the season, if they just keep everything away from him in terms of the media pressure, and also just stop even kind of comparing him to Max Verstappen, he can just kind of let a bit of pressure off his shoulders and enjoy the fact that he's in the second best team on the field. He's in an amazing car. He just needs to enjoy the fact that he's in a top team. So yeah, it wasn't great, I think, from Albon, but also it wasn't great strategy as well, because when you think about the fact that he was on the hards when no one else really went there, I think, it's a really strange kind of thing. And I think the reason why they went on the hards is because he wasn't fighting up front in the first place. And that's the problem, because if you give the team the option to test, the hard tires on you, then that's also kind of a consequence of the lack of pace, because if he's fighting for third or fourth, they're not sticking him on the hard tires, I don't think. So it's on both sides. You have to have accountability as a driver, but you also have to look at the team and say, why did you give me that strategy when it clearly was a bit of, subpar? And throughout all of the weekend, we're saying the hard tires, we shouldn't even be using them. So yeah, again, you have to have accountability on both sides, I think.
Yeah, and that's just going back to your point a second ago. That's exactly what I'm saying. If he's there in fourth place fighting Bottas, or there's a chance of an undercut, they're not putting him on a hard tyre. He gives them the option to try something out, which he needs to stop doing. But a couple of people in chat saying it's a difficult track to overtake on. Like you said it 3 times, I was making a point. It absolutely is. But there were other people getting moves done. And Aldas said it there at Silverstone. Some of his overtaking was brilliant, and potential was the word I was looking for, by the way. He's definitely showing more potential than Gasly was in that Red Bull. He can do the overtaking, so he just needs to. I tell you what he needs. He needs a weekend where nothing happens. That's what Alex Albon needs. He needs to just turn up, do practice, put in a good quali lap, have a race with no drama, no odd strategy, and I bet he ends up fourth. That's going to come back and bite me really hard, isn't it?
Yeah, but to be honest, I think Belgium next time out is a really good opportunity. He was very strong there for his first race in the Red Bull. I remember the famous almost overtake, to me anyway, right around 2 wheels on the grass around Sergio Perez. That kind of made the statement in his first race for Red Bull. He certainly will be able to overtake on that track. So I think Belgium would be a really good opportunity, a track that you can overtake, a track that he's been there before, he's done really well before. I think that is going to be a great opportunity for him. So again, to reiterate my point, I think they just need to give him time. I think the Albon podium is coming, and as I think he'll develop throughout the season. However, if he doesn't, if we get to like November, October, and he's still fighting in the midfield, then I think we have to have a much more difficult conversation with regards to his future at that team.
I firmly believe he will see the season out, even though, Marco's like, because one, they have no real options, and two, it's such a weird season. They haven't got time to be messing about with drivers, really. So I think he will see the season out. I do worry about him. I really, really do. And I think what I will say as well before we move on, bringing back in the Verstappen factor, if Verstappen wasn't there and you put Albon and Gasly in that car as teammates, they probably finished 7th and 8th today. I'm just making the point there that that car is built for one person, and it is not Alexander Albon. And Max Verstappen is a phenomenal talent as well. But let's stop kissing his backside today. I feel like I've done enough of that over the last few weeks.
We've got another hour of it.
He's been absolutely brilliant this season, there's no doubt. But there's nothing to criticise him on. That's the thing. So people are like, oh, look at all these Verstappen fanboys. But it's like, what can you criticise him on? On the subject of really struggling to criticise drivers, Pierre Gasly, P9 today. Since he's gone back to what was Toro Rosso, now Alpha Tauri, he's been absolutely fantastic. And Charles Leclerc saying he's been the big surprise for him of the season. He was superb again today, nice and racy with, I think it was Sebastian Vettel and indeed Charles Leclerc at times as well. He's covering himself in glory this year. I don't think he'll end up back in a Red Bull because I think he just loves speed. I think he's just very good in that car. I think that car suits how he drives. He's very happy there, but I think he's certainly staking a claim for a seat elsewhere if anything opens up at a more competitive car. But I think we're talking a couple of years down the line yet. But superb from him. And Lando Norris, I've already talked about him as well to get that final point. But just quickly, I'd ask before I go into the rest of the field, which we'll fly through quickly. What do you think of Gasly this season and this weekend? He's surprised me. I've always said that Gasly's a better talent than that Red Bull showed last year when he was in there, but he's really even surprised me this year with his performances. One of the drivers of the season, possibly, at this point.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's almost the Pierre Gasly of old. We knew he had the talent. We knew he had the speed. You know, if you remember in 2018, he was amazing in that Toro Rosso. A Toro Rosso that wasn't exactly a great car in the midfield. He managed to get a really good result in Bahrain 2018. I think he finished like fourth or something. So we know that Pierre can do it. And finally, we're seeing it again because he is such a quality driver. I think really getting that podium last year in a Toro Rosso just flipped his season obviously on its head, and now he's just riding this wave of positivity in 2020. I think they said on Sky he's outqualified his teammate like 13 races in a row or something like that. So yeah, he's on an amazing run, and the big question around him is going to be, let's be honest, Red Bull, should he get it back? Should he not? Colton NC in the chat, has said Gasly has come back. Maybe it's time for him to step up again. So it's a really difficult conversation because there is such a, who's going to be in that Red Bull, who's not. So we had Gasly in 1 year, then we had Albon. So does Gasly go back now that this is the problem and this is the headache that Red Bull have, because now Gasly is doing an amazing job. I mean, really a great job with the Alpha Tauri. And now we see Albon struggling. So should we switch drivers again? But what about if we get the same, it actually gives me a migraine just thinking about it. And I can't imagine what it's like for Red Bull as well to make this decision because it is so difficult. There's no guarantees that just because Gasly has had a really good start to 2020 that he's just going to get in that Red Bull and straight away be like a few tenths off Max Verstappen. And that's the problem. They just don't have any certainties. And I really I don't feel kind of envious of them being in the decision that they are. So yeah, but anyway, in terms of Gasly, for sure, one of the drivers of the season so far, no doubt. And I think he just needs to keep doing what he needs to do, because he definitely is just, yeah, it's the story of redemption, isn't it, after being dropped a little bit by Red Bull. So yeah, great for him in 2020.
Yeah, and even though he might not find himself back in that Red Bull, at least he's putting himself in the conversation. That's the thing, isn't it? That's what he needs to be doing, and he's definitely doing that. But I just very quickly back to Albon now because it's kind of relevant to the rest of the grid as well. Again, not defending him, chat. Don't start. I'm not defending him, but he did also get stuck in that DRS train behind Kevin Magnussen for quite a while, which featured Ocon, Albon, Sainz, and Gasly. I've written down, so that will have cost him a lot of time. So I'll give him that one as well.
But at the same time, Sean, I will just say, I know he was stuck in a DRS train, but he was stuck in a DRS train behind a Haas.
In a Red
so
Bull.
It's.
That's exactly the point I was just going to make. He's in a faster car. You're stuck in a DRS train, but you are in a Red Bull. Like you said earlier, second best car on the grid.
I do actually, really quickly for the chat, I mean, just one word answer. Who do you think should be in that Red Bull for 2021? Who do you think is the person to be alongside Max Verstappen to win titles? I kind of want to see what people are thinking, actually.
Hulkenberg, I'd imagine, will crop up very, very quickly. I'll keep an eye on chat. I'll just do some refreshing of stuff. But yeah.
Vettel. I think, do you know what? I made a video about this like a few weeks ago. I genuinely think, I mean, we all know where Vettel will be going next year, but a Vettel-Verstappen partnership is actually, I think it's really good. I think it's exactly what they need, because if they control, Vettel's a lot more mature. Verstappen is also maturing really well. If they just get in the same team, and could you imagine how many results they can get as those two drivers backing each other up, pushing each other as well? And if they can just control that competitiveness, let's just say, between the two of them, I think that could be such a crazy good lineup to take the team forward, because fundamentally it would be a better driver lineup than Mercedes, I think. But so yeah, I think Vettel should genuinely be an option, to be honest. But again, very unlikely, no doubt.
Go get Ricciardo again. He'd have been fourth today at least.
Nah, he would have won it. He would have won it.
Easy by like a week. He'd have won it last weekend. He'd have won the Spanish Grand Prix. Do you know what I mean? He's that good. But a real mixing chat, to be fair. George Russell cropping up there. I'm going to say it for later. Remind me, about this conversation in a bit. I want to get through the race stuff first, Aldas, so just remind me about this because I want to make a point. But I want to move on to Ricciardo and Renault. Really disappointing day for them. Ricciardo said before the weekend that the pace that they had at Silverstone was legitimate. It wasn't just track specific. They were coming into this weekend confident, but they never really had the race pace. They did okay in qualifying. Not amazing, but they did okay. And they just didn't really do anything in the race either. I say they did okay in qualifying. I've just completely forgotten where they started. I might have completely lied.
I think both of them didn't even make it into Q3, to be honest. I don't think they did. I think they did bad in qualifying, to be honest.
I'm going to have a look now. Well, I'll just shut
And
my
on a
damn
weekend-
mouth. Yeah, they were 13th and 15th. Yeah, apologies for that. Okay, I'm thinking Silverstone. Let's get back 3 races in a row. It soon catches you out. But yeah, just disappointed with them this weekend. I kept saying in testing they might be dark horses. I've said all season that there's more pace in that car. They showed it in Silverstone. I was hoping to see it here as well. But they always say that Barcelona will tell you if you've got a good car, a bad car, or a mediocre car, and they just looked a little bit mediocre this weekend, which is disappointing because they were so good in Silverstone with the pace. So I was kind of hoping we'd see a lot more from them this weekend because I think Ricciardo deserves a better car, as does Ocon. But, well, I mean, any driver deserves a good car, don't they, to be fair to them. But I just don't...
Rogro.
I mean, any car's a good car for Rogro. He's lucky to still be in
He'll
F1.
crash in anything.
But...
He'll spin in anything. He'll do it.
I'm going to get a message off Dan later, aren't I? He's going to give me grief. Leave Rogro alone. But...
Right, getting on Renault actually really quickly before we get too out of hand. The Grosjean bashing will continue later on, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Stay for the show. To be honest, the thing that made it even worse is that, again, some of you might have seen this, is that there were Renault bosses, as in not the race team, the company, the Renault company, that all of the Renault bosses, all of the big heads came down to see what their investment into Formula One looks like. And the one weekend where you need to perform, you remember, whenever Mercedes had Dr. Zetcher, come to races, they would go that extra step to make sure they're performing. And Renault really needed to do that this weekend, and they didn't. So I would not want to be serial beatable in general, but not today after that race. I think it was a decent race from Daniel Ricciardo. I think we all know that he is much better than that. I still rate him as one of the top 5 drivers on the field, in my opinion. So it's very sad to see him there. I think Esteban has started to finally get into a bit of a rhythm, which is great to see. But overall, I don't know. Renault is just a really unknown. Some weekends they're amazing, some weekends they're not, and I don't know what to say. I'm going to hand over to you because I'm speechless about Renault. I don't know how to analyze them, to be honest.
I don't. And what they could really do with is like a double world champion with massive experience, I think could make quite a difference there and help them develop that car. So maybe they'll go look for one next year.
Who have you got in mind?
I don't know.
Mika Hakkinen? He's looking for a comeback at some point.
Yeah, double world. There's that... Spanish dude, what was his name? Fernando Alonso. Have you heard of him? No, yeah. I think that's what they're waiting for, in all honesty. I think next year, Ocon is going to be a good, no disrespect to him, but a good backup to Alonso. He'll be there to pick up some points. I think Alonso will really take that team by the scruff of the neck. Ricciardo's leaving, so does he really care if that car gets any better this year? Bearing in mind they're likely to be rivals next year with McLaren. So I think next year is why they're really looking, and that's. I think we'll see more from them at some tracks. It's quite difficult this season to really look at Renault and sort of predict what they're going to do because we don't know what's going to happen at Mugello or Portimao or Imola. So they could, they're going to be real curveballs this season. So they might surprise. But I'm like you. It's difficult to analyse them because I feel like there's more pace in that car, and when they get to a track like Silverstone, they can deliver it. But for some reason, it's not there in Spain. So what that tells me is that car is not a good car all round because, like I say, Spain will expose. Was it David Richards? I'm going back a bit here. 98, I think it was, somewhere there, that said that Spain will expose a bad car, and he was talking about the Benetton back then. So that's how I kind of feel. I wasn't
even born. That was a few days ago.
I'm just depressed. But yeah, I struggle with Renault as well. But I think. I'm hoping for more in Belgium. We saw good stuff last weekend. We'll see with them. We saw quite a bit of them today. They were involved in the fighting, weren't they? They were involved in scrapping. So it might even be, it sounds really silly, and I'm not making excuses for him, it might even be that they just got caught out by DRS trains and odd strategy, really. I think they both pitted Ricciardo 35, Ocon 36, or somewhere around there together. Not together, but a lap after each other, something like that. So, or is that 25? I can't read me writing. But yeah, it might just be that another day they might have ended up 8th in that DRS train in that midfield fight, if you know what I'm getting at. It might just be that today they weren't quite punchy enough, or other cars were slightly better and could make the difference and hold them back. But yeah, they're so tough, Renault. There's a couple of teams, Alfa Romeo and Renault. People keep saying to me, what's going on at Alfa? What's going on at Renault? I don't know. I can't work it out. It's so bizarre. But there are a couple of other things I want to talk about race-wise before we sort of rush through the last few. But couple of penalties. Perez got a 5-second penalty for ignoring blue flags. We've been over that one. Daniel Kvyat got the same. So some consistency from the stewards. Yeah. And it's rare. It's very, very rare. And also, Leclerc had a spin at the sort of final stupid chicane. Engine shut off, was an electrical issue, put him into a spin. Did manage to get going. How many of you in chat, very quickly, one word answer, yes or no, how many of you were praying for a safety car at that point? There was a moment where I was going, oh, go on. Oh, please, give us something, because the rain never turned up. So he did spin at that point, managed to get it going again. Bit of controversy, though, because apparently he undid his seatbelts, or part of his seatbelts, then completed a lap or two, and then pitted to have them adjusted before retiring. So a few people are a little bit annoyed at that, but I think he was just a mechanical issue, caught him out, because he was going pretty well up to that point as well, wasn't he? And I think he's been Ferrari's shining light this season. I mean, it's not been that bright. I know he's had a couple of podiums, but the car itself is shocking. But he's been the one that's really, really taken that team by the scruff of its neck and tried to deliver the best he can. So I kind of feel a bit for him today. It would have been nice to see him get some more points, but you know, mechanical issues happen, don't they, all the time, especially at Ferrari, it feels like at the minute. So yeah, just a bit gutted he got the DNF, because he has been good this season. He was good again this weekend. 4th in the championship, I think it says, yeah, there. 45 points. Not bad at all. Ahead of Stroll, ahead of Albon. He's doing all right as Charles this season, all things considered. But yeah, and that fight with Norris, like we talked about earlier, was absolutely epic. I don't know if you want to say anything quickly on Leclerc. I would ask for a roll on. If not, I'll just roll on.
Well, give me a chance, mate. Give me a chance. No, honestly, just to be honest, he was really exciting actually. Watching that battle between, we kind of talked about it a few minutes ago, the Norris Leclerc battle, the way Leclerc was going around the outside and was just like, I don't need the track. I'm just gonna foot to the floor, mate. That's how you do it on the video game, anyway. So yeah, I think he did a really good job as far as the seatbelt thing. I mean, I don't know. I think I genuinely think that he thought that's it, race over. You know, safety car, the car's not starting, so he was like, I'm just going to loosen my seatbelt, because it was also really hot. Actually, we had Valtteri Bottas complaining about his black race suit, and obviously, you know, being in a hot weather just in all black is going to be pretty bad. So, and I think he was almost surprised that the car kind of started up again. So yeah, you know, I'm not gonna. It was a little bit dangerous, because you know you don't want to be going around 2 laps on a track like that with no seatbelt. Well, not, you know, properly harnessed. But at the end, I still think it was a good performance by him. He was ahead of his teammate at the time. And overall in 2020, I feel like he's actually gone up a level. I do actually rate what he's been doing in 2020 quite a bit. And I'm just, again, like you said, just looking forward until we have Russell, Norris, Verstappen, Leclerc just all going at it in a good machinery. So yeah, just it's been a decent season, I think. But obviously classic Ferrari, you know, letting a driver down. So yeah, what else can we expect?
Yeah, I think you got to remember that, haven't you? That I don't think you can blame the drivers too much. Like you said earlier, they've you know, Vettel and Ferrari have both got to take part of the blame, but I think it is just, that car's terrible this year. It really is. I can't believe how bad it is either. But there you go. Alfa Romeo, Kimi 14th, Giovinazzi 16th. Good weekend for Kimi. It sounds so stupid, doesn't it? He qualified, like he got out of Q1 and was 15th and finished the race in 14th. But when you consider where Alfa Romeo have been for the first sort of 5 races this season, that's actually a really good result for Kimi. And I think he won't be happy with it, because it's not points, it's not winning, but I think the team will be pretty reasonably happy to finish ahead of both the Haas boys and both the Williamses today. So I think that's a solid result for Kimi. And Giovinazzi, he had a few moments. I know Kimi almost went into the back of Grosjean. Late move from Road Grove. Yeah, surprise. Could have been a nasty accident. Giovinazzi ended up barging somebody off track. I think it might have been Grosjean as well. Yes, it was. He didn't get a penalty.
I think it was payback, quite honestly.
Well, it could be, but Gio was investigated, but there was no penalty for that. Stewart decided no further action, and that was probably actually, funnily enough, the incident between Giovinazzi and Grosjean was probably the most nerve-wracking moment of Lewis Hamilton's race because he ran over the debris from that, didn't he? So it was sort of like, oh my God, he might get a puncture. And he's probably sat in the car going, oh yeah, I'm in a race, aren't I? There's other people here. I'm not just here to laugh at them. I've run over their debris. So yeah, but everything was fine there. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with Kimi's weekend, as I'm sure Alfa Romeo are. What's going on at Alfa, do you think? Because if that's once upon a time, it's not that long ago that Charles Leclerc and, bless his heart, Marcus Ericsson were consistently scoring some good points. And all of a sudden, a year and a half, 2 years later, their 14th is a good weekend. It's weird.
I think there was definitely a transition in 2019 because if you remember the first part of 2019, Kimi again, he was just the silent killer. He was always just there in the points, 6th, 7th, 8th, getting those amazing positions. And then midway through the season, just Alpha just nosedived. And I feel like they haven't made. I actually don't think aero-wise, I don't think they've regressed or improved. I think the engine is what's really just absolutely, killed all of their momentum and all of their pace in 2020 because it wasn't like they were smashing it towards the end of 2019 anyway. I feel like the result in Brazil really flattered them, to be honest. So I feel like it's mostly down to the Ferrari engine. Now that's again a whole different conversation, but yeah, they've been very not great, to be honest, and that's especially frustrating because they've got so many great young drivers just ready to jump in that car and hopefully make a name for themselves. And you want to give them good machinery. Again, this is where Charles Leclerc made his name with that amazing debut season in 2018. So yeah, you want to see them do well. I'm actually a really big fan of Alfa Romeo, just even the Sauber team and just the brand in general. So I want to see them do well. But yeah, it's not been a great year for them. I'm not quite sure if they have actually anything in their bag to kind of get it, salvage their 2020 season or even improve in 2021. So yeah, this could be a rough couple of years, I think, for Alpha. But yeah, it's frustrating. They're also in a really kind of strange driver situation. I think we all know that Kimi Raikkonen most likely will, leave Formula One at the end of the season. I can't quite believe it because he's been going on for so long. And of course, also, throughout the race, I think literally the most exciting thing for Crofty is for Kimi Raikkonen to get to like lap 33 or something and become like the highest amount of race, being in Formula One in terms of like mileage. That was like the highlight of the race for Crofty. So yeah, he's finally got that. So yeah, it was a really strange race for Kimi. I feel like it's strange saying he had a good race when he finished out of the points, like down in, what was it, 14th or something. But yeah, I feel like that's just where the car is at the moment.
Twice around the equator.
Yeah.
Anyway, Harry.
You just know he wrote that down and was like, I cannot wait to bash that. I cannot wait to just whip it out during the race.
I hope you're still referring to his stat there. But
Yes, yeah.
That's it. Tone lowered. Who had an hour? Yeah, but I mean, he probably had it scrawled in Sharpie. If you go to the commentary box in Barcelona, it's probably scrawled on the window in Sharpie. But Harry says a legal engine is what is going on at Alpha. And Andy Dowland says Alfa Romeo picked the wrong car to copy, the wrong 2019 car to copy. I like that one. That made me chuckle. Magnussen 15th. I mean, what? Not very much to say apart from that incident with Kimi Raikkonen. It's not the first. That wasn't Magnussen, was it? I'm talking about Grosjean. I was talking about Haas. Sorry.
Easy mistake.
Yeah, Grosjean, that cheeky move on Raikkonen. I think they keep making a point in punditry that he's head of the GPDA or one of the heads of GPDA, and he makes moves like that. So yeah, that's dangerous. He needs to stop that. Also had a half spin as well. Got it all wrong. So disappointing. There's not a lot to say about Haas apart from Grosjean was a bit of a plonker today. Magnussen was head of that DRS train. Strategy maybe wasn't brilliant. Went for a one-stop P15. And Williams, very quiet this weekend, really. We've seen sort of Q2 appearances for George Russell and some good races. They weren't all that far off, to be fair. 9.5 off Giovinazzi, so definitely an improvement on this time last year, that's for sure. And Latifi 80 seconds off his teammate. But that could be like I was saying about Renault. It could just be that the Barcelona track will expose if your car is not particularly brilliant, and maybe that's what's happened with Williams this weekend. So hopefully more from them in Belgium. But I don't think I've come to you again, Aldas, as I get ready to ask for the chat for driver of the day. But I've got nothing on Williams and Haas other than Grosjean being a plonker. That's all I've got written down. Those exact words.
I think that's a little bit harsh on Grosjean, Sean. You just know he did it for the lads. He did it for the girls back at home. He was like, this race is boring, so I just got to spice it up a little bit. A little dangerous move there and there, half spin around the track. Yeah, to be honest, on a serious note, I think we're starting to see the end of Romain Grosjean. He's had his time. We love him, of course. We do, and I do like him as a guy. I mean, he's got his own cookbook. That says it all. So I think, he's definitely coming towards the end. He's kind of reached that he can't really keep up with the young guys, if you know what I mean. So yeah, and as far as the Williams, I honestly, and chat, please tell me, did you even see Nicholas Latifi like once, or George Russell? I genuinely did not see the Williams at all. So they had a very quiet weekend. I think it's just their car. It's okay on some tracks, especially on power circuits, especially in qualifying, but in the race, they're struggling with that race pace. It's kind of almost a little bit different in the opposite to Red Bull, who aren't as good during qualifying, but much better in the race. Well, they're kind of, Williams is kind of the opposite of that. So yeah, it was a really strange one, but yeah, it's just kind of where Williams are. They've still made progress. That's the really important thing to remember when you look at qualifying they were doing last year to this year. They've made a lot of progress, but so has the rest of the field. So yeah, it's little steps for Williams. They have an exciting driver in George Russell and a really, I think Nicholas Latifi has actually been doing quite well. I don't really have, people seem to hate on him for some reason, but overall, I think there's a lot of exciting things happening at Williams, and hopefully they just keep improving throughout the season, to be honest.
Yeah, I've been quietly impressed with Latifi. He's not blowing the world away, is he? He's not stunning, but he's much better than I think I was expecting, to be fair. So a bit like Giovinazzi was when he came in, as his season picked up last year. He was definitely better than I thought he was going to be. So yeah, I'd agree with that on Latifi. But on Grosjean, when you've got a Hülkenberg available and a Perez likely to become available, he's going to have to pull out something special to keep hold of that seat. But what do you reckon then, chat? Driver of the day today. One surname in chat. I think it was Vettel won the official one. So who are you going with today? And, Aldas is on. His name begins with an A, so I'll come to him first alphabetically on this one. Who's your driver of the day, mate?
Do you know, obviously it's hard to look past the race winner, the man who almost got a Grand Slam and led every single lap, but that's a bit too easy. Verstappen was also great. I'm actually still going to go with Sebastian Vettel. I feel like under the circumstances, he needed a weekend to bounce back. The way he just, said, hell with it with the strategy. If you guys aren't going to help me, I'm going to go and do it for myself. I think under the circumstances, he did a really good job. I was impressed. I didn't actually think he was actually going to get towards the end with those tires, and especially with all the people catching him up. So yeah, Seb, he showed why he's a four-time world champion, that he is nowhere near ready to leave the sport. A lot of people are saying that he's done in terms of talent. He's just in a bit of a strange environment. So for me, yeah, Sebastian Vettel did a great job in my opinion.
I have a short list of 3. I always like to write more than one down because I know that it's predictable and obvious to pick Lewis Hamilton because he was superb today. And I think if Vettel hadn't had the race he had, Hamilton would have won Driver of the Day. So I think he deserves Driver of the Day, Lewis Hamilton, because he was fantastic. I wrote Vettel down, but you've said him, so that's boring. So I'll give you my third one. Lance Stroll is my mainly because of that move into turn 1 and also how he was able to keep Bottas behind him, but also beating Perez today despite making 2 stops. I know Perez, his tyres would have been going off. He also had the penalty, but Stroll still did a superb job today for P4. So if I'm being predictable, I'll go with Lewis Hamilton, but I'll go with Lance Stroll as well, is the way to go. Because it's very difficult, like you say, when you look at it, without Bottas' fastest lap, Hamilton gets the Grand Slam. He leads every lap. He's been unstoppable all weekend. It's very difficult to say he's not driver of the day. But I sometimes feel the race winner's a bit too predictable to pick, so I like to pick a midfield guy. Hedging my bets just for a change,
There's only so much praise and there's only so many superlatives we can give to Lewis Hamilton before everyone just leaves the stream,
Yeah, British bias. Yeah,
I'm not even British, so I can't be on that.
Yeah.
Lithuanian bias.
Lithuanian bias. I like that.
But yeah, no, there was some great performances. Lewis, Max, I think, of course, Lance Stroll, the fact that he had a great start, obviously held Valtteri Bottas back for quite a few laps. And even when he got put on that different strategy to his teammate, he went out and did it. And at the end of the day, he can't control what Sergio Perez, for Sergio to make that mistake and get that 5-second penalty. And, I heard somewhere, in the comments, someone said, Stroll, it's just the car. Yeah, that's BS because Stroll is a good driver. He's not a phenomenal driver. I still feel like he has a little bit to grow, but he's just in his own element and really growing race by race in an amazing car. And then, of course, Sebastian Vettel as well. So, yeah.
Well, on the Stroll car thing, he's in the same car as Perez and he beat him today. So, I mean, there you go. And we all love Checo.
That must make Perez like GP2 quality then.
Yeah, God, GP, that's kind. I'm joking. Thurston, I nearly read that wrong, says Vettel. David's gone with Vettel. Cringelord's gone with Vettel as well. Let's scroll through some others. Lee's got Vettel. Nick has gone with Lewis. Professional Moron, Riccardo Patrese. Vettel or Stroll for Red
shout.
Raven. It's great. Portrays a great shout. NS says Stroll. David says Vettel. Dan says Lewis. Paolo says Latifi is, for me, Rookie of the Year already. Very good. Corey says Hamilton. Jack's gone with Stroll. E7 Suspect says Vettel. Sainz for Enforcer Nebula. That's a good shout as well, even though I can't remember how he got there. I'll watch the highlights back tonight and go, oh yeah, I did watch that, because I always find something when I watch the highlights that I go, oh, I meant to say it on the stream and I forgot. I end up tweeting it and upsetting somebody. F1 fan says Ragunathan.
Of course.
Anybody other than Vettel or Lewis? David's gone with Vettel. William's gone with Lewis. Tipper's gone with Latifi. Zenon's gone with Gasly. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think driver of the day, but, you know, give him a nod as maybe a nomination. I'd maybe agree with that one. Logan's gone with Sainz as well. Astro's gone with Hamilton. Couple more, and by a couple I mean like 12, because that's normally how this goes. Sunita's gone Seb. Michael's gone with Perez, Michael Gray. Yeah, one stopper. He almost made it work, didn't he, without the penalty? Would have, yeah, I can see that one. The Haprus says Vettel. Yeah, there you go. A lot of Vettel love in there, absolutely. And driver of the weekend, Hamilton, 100%.
To be fair, in terms of Perez, I think if he managed to hold off Lance Stroll and not get that penalty, then I think, you know, he would have been above Lance Stroll in terms of driver of the day. But yeah, at the end of the day, again, it was a bit of a mistake. So you have to give Stroll credit. He is just dealing with the pressure so well, and it was another really good race from him. Yeah,
absolutely. I was just going to say, people ask about driver of the weekend. For me, well, it's Hamilton, isn't it? You can't. Who else?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think, actually, to be honest, that's another one I could record as a soundbite, isn't it? Driver of the weekend, Hamilton. Championship over. I don't know if I asked you this early. Do you think that's it, or do you think we could see a fight between now and the end of the season?
Well, I mean, George Russell was still mathematically in it, so never say never, you know. But in terms of the guys fighting up front, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I thought it was a foregone conclusion when I saw. Honestly, yeah, I thought it was a foregone conclusion when I saw Lewis Hamilton catch Valtteri Bottas in Austria, because if you are letting Hamilton catch you in the first race of the season and you've qualified in front of him, then he just doesn't have it. And to be honest, the fact that Max is the guy in second, I think, says everything about 2020, because who saw that coming, especially after the dominance of Mercedes and how good their car looks. But yeah, I think Hamilton is, 7 times world champion by the end of the year. I think the question that, and what can we debate now, is how quickly will it happen? How many records will he break this year? Can he break 100 poles this year? Is that even possible, actually, with, I think he needs like 12 more or something? When is he going to get to 92 wins? I feel like that's the only questions we have at the moment in 2020, which is a shame, because, you know, I've not hidden the fact that I'm a fan of Lewis Hamilton, but I want to see a title battle. I want to see Max Verstappen. I want to see Red Bull turn up with a good enough car to, you know, be in the title fight. But yeah, sadly, that's just what we've got in 2020 at the moment. But hey, still loads of racing, still so many great drivers in that midfield, still so many amazing storylines. So the Formula One as a season is not over. There's no doubt about it.
No, I mean, like I said earlier, get it wrapped up nice and early, Lewis, and then gloves are off, do what you want, can't they? Get both championships done, and it's all going to be brilliant and chaos, because who cares anymore? But yeah, no, I think it's, I said must win for Bottas on Thursday. I think it's gone. Obviously, I will throw this in there for those that point this out later, maybe in the comments or have done in chat. Yeah, okay, a DNF for Hamilton, it all gets swung around, but really? Is he really going to drop that many points even with a DNF? And when he doesn't DNF, does he? If he does, it's because of a mechanical issue, generally speaking. So, yeah, we'll see. But I think right now that feels like it's over. But I agree with you, plenty still to go for. But yeah, if you've got any questions... Yeah, we're all right for time. If you've got any questions, it always overruns massively anyway, but Aldas is here today, so we'll just waffle on for ages now and probably upset you all. But if you've got any questions, ideally about the race, but we will answer pretty much anything F1 related, so please do pop them in the comments and I'll come to you in just a moment. But as always, please do drop a like on the stream, massively appreciated. Really helps the channel out at the moment, and also don't forget to subscribe if you are new. Loads coming up, and I mean... loads coming up in the next few weeks. Hopefully be able to say something more soon. But yes, very much looking forward to it. So yeah, like and subscribe. That's massively appreciated. And don't forget to check out Aldous' channel as well. Link down in the description. I think Stuart's and Dan's are still down there as well, because I just leave them in there because I can't be bothered to go and find the links again. So I just leave them there. So there you go. They are down there. But yeah. Let's see. Questions-wise. Go on then.
I was really quickly actually going to say, just really quickly, in terms of championship, though, what happens if one of the Mercedes boys tests positive, for
Mm,
coronavirus? Then
good point.
that's their only worry, and that's why they need to, especially be safe, and Max as well. So that's the only thing that I'll say. Never say never in 2020.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, it's a weird. I mean, let's be honest. It's so weird. 2020. I wouldn't put it past it. I don't know. Lance Stroll wins a title because the rest of the field all end up with COVID, and he's racing a grid of Ragunathans. I hope. Obviously, I always say this because I feel like I should, even though I think you all should know this. I don't want any drivers to catch it, but it's just something that could quite easily happen this year, as we saw with Perez. So,
Yeah.
there you go. What will Kimi do after F1? Says Martin. Probably something incredibly dangerous. Because he'll race somewhere. It won't be Formula 1, but he'll find somewhere to race. Definitely. Can Max beat Bottas for second in the titles as Astro? Yeah, I'd say yes. Yeah. I'm not going to say it's nailed on, but he certainly can, and he's got himself in a great position. What is he? 4 points clear or 7 points clear? Let's have a look.
I think he's something like that. Yeah, he extended his lead because he got the lead after winning the 70th anniversary. So he's even gone further ahead of Bottas in the championship.
Yeah, 6 clear. So it's a good start. Obviously, long way to go, but yeah, definitely. I'm going to butcher your name now. Is it Fredo or Frido? What happened to the watch along? Stick with me. They're not gone forever. I'm just having an issue trying to sort out live timing. As soon as that's back, and another thing which I can't tell you about, but as soon as that's all sorted and that's back, I will be back for watch along. So yes, just bear with me on that. But anyway, back to the race stuff. Will we have Haas and Renault on the grid in 2022? I'm worried, says Red Raven. I think Renault, yes. Haas, probably, but I'm not 100% sure that Gene Haas is particularly happy where they are at the moment. I think that's the biggest concern there. Trying to find a race-related one. Desperately trying to find one. I know there's a lot of people want to talk about the rest of this season and want to talk about silly season, but obviously this is a race reaction stream, so I would prefer to at least start with those ones first, and then we can do some silly season waffling a bit. If not, I'll just start picking absolutely anything out, because why not? I don't want to just be pausing with this one. So no, we're going to have to go with whatever's in the chat then. I thought it was going to be a case with that one.
There's only, Sean, to be fair, there's only so much you can take out of this race, out of the Spanish Grand Prix, and I think we've done pretty well so far.
I mean, like we keep saying, it's a good race. It was an okay race for Spain. If you put it alongside the first race of the season this year in Austria, no, but it was a 5 out of 10. I liked that out. 5 out of 10 in general, but maybe a 6 or a 7 for Barcelona, definitely.
Yeah.
How much could Vettel challenge Verstappen in a potential Red Bull return, says David. I don't know about challenge him. I think he'd do a really good job. I think he'd take the fight to him, but I don't think Vettel and Verstappen in the same car now. I think Verstappen would be, first of all, team leader, and secondly, I think he would beat Vettel. That's not a knock at Vettel. I just don't think he's where he was when he was winning those titles for Red Bull at all. So, yeah, that is a tough one. He'd push him, and he'd be a great, not a backup, but he'd be great for Red Bull for the constructors. But I think Verstappen would have the edge on that one, definitely.
Yeah, but I think as a partnership, how amazing would it be in terms of pushing Mercedes, pushing for maybe an outside shot of the title? To be fair, we talked about this a little bit earlier, and someone did say that, with Vettel and Verstappen, there would be too many fireworks. But if you seriously got them two in a car and said, right, we're going to let you race, you need to be respectful, we're going for the title, we need you to be mature, and we need you to be adults, then maybe you can kind of control that a little bit. But in terms of the pure pace, I do think that Verstappen is now quicker than Vettel. I think we're seeing a bit of a shift with the younger generation just starting to overtake some of the older guys. But I think that'd be such a great lineup, so exciting, and it would give exactly what they need. Both drivers pushing each other to the absolute max, both drivers pushing their car to where it needs to be, and also backing each other up when it comes to fighting Mercedes on tracks where they can get the win. So, yeah, I mean, I know they're not going to go for him, but I think they should seriously think about bringing Vettel back. I mean, he's comfortable with the team. He knows he knows mostly everyone. It's not quite the same team, but yeah, it still feels like home to him,
Kumar says, should Pirelli bring softer tyres to try to throw a curveball at Mercedes? Kind of in a wider point, I guess, with Spain. That's what that needed this weekend, was softer tyres. They always go so conservative in Barcelona. I know the heat is going to be a concern anyway, but certainly in August, that's going to be a worry for them. But I feel like for a track that the teams, okay, not in August, but for a track that the teams know very, very well, they could have afforded to take more of a risk, in my opinion, with the tyres today. You don't have to go mad. You don't have to go like right to the other end of the scale. Just a step softer, like we saw at that second race in Silverstone. It really mixed things up. It's not, for me, not about throwing a curveball at Mercedes, because it's up to Red Bull and Ferrari to build the car to challenge. They need to be doing a better job, as I said on Friday or Saturday, with the money that they've got and what they throw at Formula One. So it's not about throwing a curveball at Mercedes, but I feel like they can be more aggressive with their tyre choices, Pirelli, in future for Spain. But that was my biggest disappointment. If we're going to talk about tyres, at least make it worth it. But at the same time, we don't want an absolute ton of artificial racing, do we? That's something that I don't think Formula One needs to be looking to do. But at the same time, if you've got a track like Barcelona, which isn't going to promote great racing and isn't going to give us as much entertainment as some tracks will do, maybe you do need to just inject that little bit of uncertainty with things like tyres. Then again, safety first, as is often the case in Formula One, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when we look back, especially at that at the race with all the tire punctures, what was really interesting is that Pirelli said, this is how far the tires can go. And the drivers and the teams, as they always do, still took it, a step further, still took it 5-10 laps more than Pirelli said that they should go to. And then we got a bunch of tire failures. So sometimes it isn't surprising that that happens, but that's kind of the formula that we're in at the moment. It's all about time management. It's all about just eking the most out of those tires and not pushing the car technically to the max in terms of the power unit and everything along those lines. But yeah, definitely, I don't think it should be, if Mercedes aren't good enough on tires, that's their problem. Although at the same time, it does also seem that Formula One is in a bit of a, let's do everything we can, like with these engine modes, let's do everything we can to try and put Mercedes down when it's, the other teams have just not done a good enough job at the end of the day. And even when you look at Red Bull, something I found really surprising when you think about it, as good as Red Bull are, and, although we criticize Ferrari, Red Bull have still not built a championship contending car since 2013. So that's, it's not about just nerfing Mercedes. It's about everyone else improving. But hopefully this is what those new rule changes in 2022 will be about.
Hopefully. Like I said earlier, I feel like we're in limbo at the minute, but
yeah,
I'm not going to keep saying it. Last time, I promise, until next week, but last time, Red Bull and Ferrari need to be taking the fight to Mercedes. I don't think you should hate on anybody, but don't attack Mercedes because they're doing a better job than everybody else. It's up to them to race. I was exactly the same when Red Bull were dominating and Ferrari were dominating, mainly with Ferrari though, because I was a Schumacher fanboy. But also, don't. It's up to the others to catch up. That's what racing is. It's not about making the car slower. It's not. I just don't believe in that. But a couple of people, and I don't know. You'll tell me if I'm wrong. Asking about Kvyat's race. Did we not talk about Daniel Kvyat? Did we completely miss him?
I think we did, yeah. I feel, to be fair, there was some good overtaking by him, or certainly some good attacking and a good battle between him and Sebastian Vettel. It got quite close. But other than that, I don't really remember too much from his race, to be honest. I think we just completely forgot about him. And he got a 5-second penalty for blue flags as well. So, yeah, did we miss anything else, actually? Was he on the podium that we never saw?
Oh, I'll tell you what he did do. Just dawned on me. He went defensive on Ricciardo early on and actually held it out around the outside of turn 4. He definitely did that. That was Kvyat. The penalty we definitely covered with the blue flags. That's if you've gone past 3 marshals posts and not moved for blue flags, it's pretty much a slam dunk. So nothing really to debate there. But I don't remember seeing a huge amount of him. But I feel like it's not that we didn't see him. It's that because the midfield in a lot of ways was they kind of bunched up into groups at times, weren't they? We weren't looking at Kvyat, we were looking at perhaps a group that included Kvyat. That could be why, same with Sainz, maybe why I don't feel like I've seen a lot of him, even though maybe some will go, hang on a minute, he was on the camera every 5 minutes, but it's a group of those drivers that you're focusing on, not one. So yeah, I think, he was in that DRS train, which is my excuse for every driver this weekend apparently, even though I hate the phrase DRS train. Possibly not. I've lost my paper. I don't know why I write this down. No, it wasn't. Shut up, Sean. But yeah,
it's a mess. That's it. It's all gone to pot, guys. That's it.
Terrible. It's gone to pot. They usually start terrible. But yeah, I think Kvyat's not been as good this season as I was hoping. I think that Gasly is definitely and quite clearly outperforming in that car. So I think he needs to step it up but equally, I don't think maybe Tsunoda might be a threat for that seat next year or 22, but I suspect AlphaTauri are probably going to stick with what they've got anyway, because when Kvyat's on form, he delivers, and we can see what Gasly's doing. So I think he needs to step it up a little bit, Danny Kvyat, and I'd like to see more from him, but at the same time, I am quite a fan of Daniel Kvyat. I do like him, so I think he's another one that's better than people give him credit for, but he has been absolutely... It's destroyed harsh, if I say destroyed by Gasly. Well beaten.
I think I think you have to call it how it is, really. It's not been a great season for him, and I think kind of similar to Albon, he's lucky that there isn't just one big talent just looking to, in the Red Bull program, junior program, just looking to get into Formula One. There's certainly, Yuri Vips is up there, Tsunoda as well, but there's not that one guy that is pressuring Daniil Kvyat to be in the AlphaTauri ahead of him. So he's just getting on with it. But yeah, it's not been a great start for Daniil Kvyat for sure, and I think he's been thoroughly outclassed by a resurgent Pierre Gasly,
who I also really like. I was so defensive of him last season, and then it got to a point where I was kind of like, no, give him time. Let's see how he gets on. Then I just snapped one week and I was like, no more excuses. This is unacceptable. Come on, Pierre. Thank you to Michael for your contribution through Super Chat. Says, does Lewis and Max remind you of Michael and Fernando? Also, do you think they need to get rid of the chicane to make Barcelona better? I think they brought the chicane in, didn't they, to try and make Barcelona better, and it didn't really work. But I kind of agree. Brace yourself. I kind of agree with Crofty on this one. It's a clumsy chicane. It's a stupid chicane. It's not improved the racing, but the drivers hate it and it looks really sloppy and they make mistakes in there. So leave it, because it at least adds some sort of variable to the race. I loved that final couple of corners around Barcelona on the old spec, but I don't think the racing would be any better if that chicane wasn't there, and I don't think it'd be any better if it stays. So I say leave it, but that's just me. I think
it's the track as a whole, really. I mean, it just everything compounds as a problem at Spain because the cars are bigger than they've ever been before. The current regulations are just manage everything. You can't really push until, a few laps. Maybe once you have like a 2-second delta with fresh tires. And then you have the fact that it is a bit of a tight track. Then you have all of those Mickey Mouse kind of chicanes. It's just one big kind of mess that is making it very not great for racing. It hasn't exactly given us any wow moments. It usually takes an incident, like the two Mercedes taking each other out and then Max Verstappen kind of winning in 2016 as soon as he got into their Red Bull. But the truth is, during that race, we didn't actually see any amazing moments as in racing. That's been the problem. Crashes can create kind of interesting races, but they're never a guarantee of good actual racing. So it's and you mentioned, I mean, we have testing there. They have so much data. Obviously, the engineers numbers, they know exactly when the drivers should pit within like apps, and that's the big, we need to, it will be I think at Imola what we have with much less, absolutely no previous running on a track that should be quite difficult to overtake. Is it going to be exactly the same or is it going to be different? I think that could be a very interesting little experiment as to how we should proceed kind of format in terms of Friday practice and then in the race.
I'm glad you brought up the car thing, because it's, Barcelona's not a great track for racing, but the current crop of cars does not help that in any way. It's like Monaco. We've had some really good Monaco Grand Prix over the year, but then you put the current crop of cars around there and they're never going to do brilliantly, are they? So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think Tom Bellingham says that quite a lot. It's not always about the track. These cars are not great either, so we'll see. I mean, I'm looking forward to that calendar, but we'll talk about that at some point, I'm sure. Granny Annie, thank you for your contribution. Says, does it really have to be about F1? Cat hater? Don't get me back on my soapbox about cats. And Raza says, Red Bull needs an older, experienced driver who is okay with being there in a consistent performance, an experienced consultant role. Maybe Kimi. That's an interesting point. Thank you for your contribution, mate. I don't know about Kimi, but I like, maybe somebody with a bit of experience there just to, Max is 22. But he's been around a while now, but he's not got the experience of a Seb Vettel, like we talked about earlier, or a Kimi Räikkönen. So maybe they could do with somebody just to put in there to bring that experience in and help to develop that car a little bit more. But Max isn't a rookie anymore, is he, by a long way?
No, no, no. I feel like we fall into this trap when we talk about young drivers. Obviously Max is young by age, but he is not young in terms of Formula One. He's the most experienced 22-year-old we've ever seen in Formula One. You know, he started racing when Maldonado was still on the grid. So that just tells you how long he's been in Formula One. He is a seasoned pro, and we're finally seeing the maturity after, 3 or 4 years of being there. I definitely see what he means, maybe a bit of an older voice there, but at the same time, you don't want to unsettle your number one driver. You don't want someone in there and another voice in Max Verstappen's and the team's ear saying something different. I think Max, he knows what he's doing. He's gone to a new level. He's at such a comfortable team. He just needs a teammate that can do a proper good job and is absolutely proven in a top team. And again, I go back to Sebastian Vettel. I feel like that partnership, it's got box office just written all over it. But yeah, I suppose we'll see in the future. But yeah, Max, I think he's fine at that team how he is. I don't think he needs like another voice to tell him what to do, to be honest.
I can't find where you are now. Somebody suggested Hulkenberg, possibly. I
Yeah.
know a lot of people are desperate for him back. I know they are, and he did a very good job last time out, really, when all things considered, at Silverstone. So I think he'd be a good option.
Sergio
but
Perez maybe as well. He could be potentially a free agent at the end of the year.
well, I think if you are a top team and you've got a seat available and Perez is available, you'd be mad not to at least consider him, to be honest.
Exactly. And I genuinely don't see Sergio Perez going into that car and struggling massively because he's just so adaptable. He's been quick in every single car that he's ever driven, and he hasn't exactly had a race winning car in every single year. I mean, even when people talk about Sergio Perez in 2013, he didn't get smashed by Jenson Button. I think he finished like 2 places below in the championship. So he's a very adaptable driver and he could do a very solid job in that Red Bull. And again, I agree with you. I think you'd be crazy to not at least consider the likes of Perez, the likes of Hulkenberg. So yeah, Red Bull they've got some options in the future, I think, but they need to have a seriously long and hard look at the drivers they have available in their junior categories and the people that are currently in Formula One and think what lineup is going to win with Max Verstappen in the future. What two drivers are going to both be coherent, work together, but also push each other enough and push Mercedes to actually put some pressure on Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes, and Valtteri Bottas in the future.
Absolutely. And I just old Perez at McLaren, very different Perez then to what we've got now, definitely.
Yes.
So I think Red Bull, I don't think they will sign him. I think they're probably going to stick within their ranks, either give somebody else a shot or promote someone from AlphaTauri or stick with Albon, give him another chance, given everything staying pretty static for next year. But I'd be surprised if they don't at least sit down and think, well, Sergio Perez could be available. Let's have a chat about that. They might even offer him something. We'll see. I think Verstappen Perez could be quite an interesting lineup. I quite fancy that one as well. But a couple more super quickly. Rocket Dog 299 says Mercedes have had only one 1-2 finish in Spa during the V6 era so far. Do you think Red Bull and Racing Point stand a better chance there? I'm not sure about Red Bull because it's a power track, although that Honda is a lot better than it was when it was in that McLaren. I know we're going back a while now, but I think Racing Point could be in the mix. But I think the reason perhaps that Mercedes have struggled there in the past is because Ferrari have been so strong at Spa, and they're not. I don't expect they will be this year because they are so down on power. So I still think with, fine, take their engine modes off them, they're still going to be pole. They're still going to be right up there fighting for the win, if not cruising. So I still think Mercedes are comfortably the team to beat. But we might see a bit more from the likes of Red Bull and Racing Point. But again, like I say, I think Ferrari's performance over the last few years at Spa is why Mercedes have not had any 1-2s there, or only had the one in the V6 era. So yeah, who knows? Ferrari might have found something magic in their engine before Belgium. Leave it at that.
Are we talking something legal or something on the borderline that the FIA need to know about and all of the other teams are getting left out? What are we talking here?
Does it matter? I mean, I felt like saying to somebody the other day. In fact, I think I said it to a partner. We were talking about it, and I just turned around and was like, "Well, the thing is with Ferrari is they literally cheated last year and still couldn't beat Mercedes. So that's where my frustration comes with Red Bull and Ferrari is like take the fight to Mercedes, and then even when they're, let's not say cheating, bending the rules or there's something fishy on the car, they still can't do it. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to Spa. It is probably my favourite track on the calendar, certainly up there. But on tracks, I've seen a couple of people say it. We've got to have this conversation out there super quickly. Turkey and Jerez are the latest that are likely, or at least contenders, to be on the calendar to join the likes of Imola and the Nürburgring. Oh, the Nürburgring. I'm so happy. Portimao and Mugello as well. Do you fancy a race? I know I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I suspect Turkey, yes, because I'm well up for that. Jerez, maybe not.
Well, first of all, I'll say about Jerez, I'm not sure about Jerez because it's a very tight track. It's a great testing track. I think the last time we tested there was 2013, I think, somewhere there. Maybe even 2014. It's a nice track, but it's very tight. It will not be great for racing, and even the main straight isn't massively long. So yeah, I'm not sure about Jerez, but Turkey. I love Turkey. That track is amazing. Tilke, for all of the hate that we give him, for all of the criticisms that we have, he knocked it out the park with Turkey, and it's such a great track. I think it's the famous turn 5 or turn 9, that long left-hander that's like it gives so many Gs. And could you imagine that turn with these modern cars? It's got some really nice long straights. It always has great racing. The one thing you can say about Turkey, or certainly, before the hybrid era, before all these really massive cars, is that it always had great racing, and I'm a big fan. It's definitely in my top 5. Like, if there's one track that I want to come back, it's the likes of Turkey, the likes of Imola, and possibly the Nürburgring as well. So I'm very happy with Turkey coming back. I think it's just the problem is in terms of the government, where is that car at the moment with where the world, where is that track? Sorry, where is it at the moment with where the world is? That's the big question. It's more political than it is about Formula One.
Yeah. I mean, a few people said on Twitter the other week that the track isn't in a very good state of repair, but it's starting to come out now that it's less a conversation and more that the negotiations are at the next stage. It's not just speculation; they're actually managing to get it done. I mean, turn 8 at Turkey is flipping incredible. These modern cars around there that Mercedes will be flat and it'll be stunning on board. So I can't wait if Turkey does happen. It's a great track. I know the political things, not great. I don't want to get into that obviously, but I think it's an incredible track. But Jerez, my problem with Jerez is the last time I watched any race at Jerez, genuinely, was 1997, and it's not a circuit I have fond memories of.
I wonder why that is.
So yeah, I mean, my concern is the same as Imola, in that it's not good. It might not be great for the racing, but at the same time, it'd be kind of cool just to try it. Because this is the thing. I'm not going to get on my soapbox about it again, I promise. But this is the thing with Imola. I get the concern over Imola. I got the concern over reverse grids. However, these debates keep cropping up. When are we going back to Imola? Why don't we try a reverse grid race? Blah, 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 blah. This year is the perfect year to try it. And if it's brilliant, let's go to Imola every year. If it sucks, at least then we can turn around to people when they say, what about Imola? And say, oh no, it didn't work. It didn't work. At least we have an answer. But it looks as though, to anyone who's maybe not seen the news about it all, it looks as though, or the general feeling seems to be that it is going to be a European Championship with... effectively a European Championship with then the races in Abu Dhabi and Bahrain. It doesn't look like there's going to be any race in Asia. We already know there's no race in the Americas, but it will still be a World Championship. That's been made pretty clear. So, yeah, I think that's why we're looking at Jerez and Turkey, because they need a couple more races and not going to get to Asia, which is kind of gutting. Because if I'm picking, I would prefer to have Malaysia, Sepang on the calendar than Turkey.
Oh, yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
So that's a shame.
Malaysia is such a great track. And again, even to be honest, even in the hybrid era, we've seen some amazing racing there. I remember Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton in 2017. That was quite a good race. But just also really quickly touching on Imola. I mean, I know we have obviously concerns there that it's a tight track. We do have the different kind of format over the weekend, which I'm looking forward to. But for me, Imola is such a special track. And we have seen good racing there. I remember Schumacher and Alonso, but also Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya. So it's not the worst track in the world. But I feel like from a driver's perspective, and this is going to sound really crazy, but I have the best memories of driving around that track in F1 2013 with someone like the classic cars. From a driving perspective, that track is so special. It's nothing like Spain. It feels so great to drive. It might be difficult to overtake, but yeah, it's certainly a very special place. Lots of history there in terms of Formula One, both good and bad. And I'm so looking forward to it, going back to it. Maybe it won't work out, but you never know until you try. So yeah.
Yeah, just give it a go. I mean, I think on the weekend format thing, I think it's absolutely bloody crazy that we've had 4 hours of testing in Barcelona where they also... 4 hours of practice in Barcelona where they also test, but we've got one 90-minute session at Imola that they've not driven at since 2006. They'll have no data for that whatsoever.
That's brilliant.
So it might be
I love
brilliant. And Mugello, Tom, 97, did a hot lap around Mugello, and it looks wow. It might not be great for racing, but those cars are going to be stunning on board. But we're going to have to leave it there, mate. We need to stream together more often because we've been going for an hour and 45 minutes and I could keep talking, quite frankly. It's not acceptable leaving it 6 months at a time. It's really not.
For sure, we need to. I mean, we haven't even, with me on the stream, we haven't even scratched the surface of controversy. So I'm disappointed, but don't worry, guys. Don't worry. I'll deliver next time.
Yeah, if you've got a spare 3.5 hours and you want controversy, then go and watch the final day of the first test afternoon live stream, which is up on the channel somewhere, and the same with the final day of the second test. We had some moments, but yeah, it's been an awesome talking to you, mate. I'm sure we'll probably talk again in a bit for half an hour, 6 hours or whatever, but it's been great having you on again, mate, and we'll definitely try and get you on again. But yeah, before you disappear, final thoughts ahead of the rest of the season, I guess, is where I kind of put people on the spot with that.
Well, in terms of the rest of the season, I cannot wait for the unpredictability. I cannot wait to get to tracks that we haven't been for ages and not know what's going to happen, because we've seen it time and time again. Unpredictability, chaos, it's what gives us amazing racing that we just don't see coming. So I can't wait to go to all of the new tracks and just, yeah, I think despite the fact that the championship maybe is over again, George Russell is mathematically in it. Let's not forget that. I think it's still going to be an exciting season with loads of ups and downs for lots of the drivers. So I cannot wait. And hopefully it's going to be an amazing one.
Absolutely. It's going to be good. I think you're clutching at straws with George Russell a bit. But yeah, who knows? You never know in Formula 1.
No. I'm bang on.
He's not having that. That's all right, fine. You heard it here first. George Russell, 2020 World Champion. Why not? But yeah, thank you very much, mate. And I'm sure I'll talk to you again shortly. There you go. Awesome. Sorry, just pressing the wrong buttons there all over the place. Thank you so much to Aldas once again for coming on. Thank you to you guys for tuning in as well. Massively appreciate it. Slightly longer one today, even though there wasn't a huge amount to talk about in the race, really. But yeah, wasn't awful, just wasn't particularly epic. Next stop is Belgium on the calendar. One of my favourites, if not my favourite of the season. So can't wait for that. And then it's Monza and then on to Mugello. Oh, it's going to be so good, this next triple header. Even if the racing's terrible, we've got some great tracks, so very much looking forward to that. Yeah, please do drop a like on the stream before you disappear, and also subscribe if you are new. I will be back later next week working on some stuff, which I'm very much looking forward to sharing with you all when I can. But yeah, back next week, obviously, as normal. And I'm going to try and do some more live streaming as well over the next few weeks too, and hopefully bring the watch-alongs back once I've sorted out some live timing. That'd be something I'm really looking forward to. It's you know, I spend most of my time on Twitter during races anyway. I might as well be streaming with you guys. So yes, don't forget, on the subject of Twitter, you can of course follow me over on social media, and all of the links you need for that are in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching, and hopefully I will catch you again in the next one. Bye-bye.